होता है, काउंसलिंग इस देश में कैसे मिलता है, अभी आपको बताते हैं. So I now welcome in the studio Amer. A very good afternoon to you, Amer.
Good afternoon, Doc. How are you?
Would you introduce the guests because you know them far
please.
better than I do?
Thank you. Yes, I would.
I
think I would like to say we're very lucky and fortunate to have Chief Executive of Relate for Newcastle. And am I right, Carol, the manager, service manager there? Would that be?
No, I'm a counsellor and therapist there.
A counsellor therapist.
And you've been here before?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you know this show is all fun and laughter.
I do.
And we have a very experienced therapist and counsellor who,
Yes.
I mean, through our chats, I've realised how understanding Carol is.
And the depth of understanding.
Culturally.
Yes.
You know, it's amazing. It's amazing. So yeah, we're privileged to have
So Carol has been here before. Carol, you're a therapist of much range, but sex therapy is one of the strengths of your.
Yes.
And we really enjoyed your show last time.
Thank you.
And we had a show on Wednesday with Joel and yourself, and we were talking about relationship supersedes everything.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about our. Do you want to put the headphones on?
Yeah, you'll probably hear yourself. Yeah, just a little bit about yourself at the service,
Yeah.
and what you would like to develop there, what you would like to do, or how you would see the service going.
And what attracted you to run this service?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. It's great to be on Spice FM. I've listened to it many times and always wanted to be on. So it's great to be
Your
here
dreams are fulfilled today, sir.
to be here on this typical November morning in Newcastle. My name is Nick Price. Yes, as you said, I'm the Chief Executive of Relate for Northumberland and Tyneside.
Mm-hmm.
We're an organisation that specialises in supporting people with their relationships. Relationships, as you said, are fundamental to all of our lives, whether we've got good relationships, not very good relationships, or haven't got the relationships that we want. I mean, what we pride ourselves on and what we've always done is to connect with people as they are. We don't judge people. We don't, if you like, bring our own values and
don't give them shoulds,
priorities.
Musts, and all that.
No,
Nothing.
we're there to support people to work out for themselves what they want from their lives, from their relationships. And so my role is to oversee the functioning of the organisation to make sure that we're actually tuning into everybody in our area, across Northumberland and Tyneside, whatever their background, whatever their social position, wherever they live, so that our services are always responding to what people want from us. We're not preaching to people, we're not telling people what they need, but we're providing them with all the resources and support to get things right for themselves.
Because you truly believe that every human can find his own or her own place if given the right resources and the space.
Absolutely, we all have very strong aspirations. Life is complicated, life isn't easy. Humans are we're very emotional beings, and often that's illogical or irrational, if you like. But it's what makes us human, and our job there is to support people when those very exciting and extremely happy events of having relationships to perhaps turn the other way or become stale or whatever.
So when people get stuck in pain, that they feel as pain, only they know best.
Absolutely.
Only they can diagnose the illness, shall we say. You don't need an outside telling them you should, you must. They have to want to come to you and they have to believe in you.
It's a humanistic approach.
Yes.
We all know that we feel pain, but often we don't know what we can do about it.
Yes.
Or we think it's all our fault and there's no hope. Or it's the other person's fault and I'm absolutely fine. And life isn't like that. Things are more
What attracted you to run this sort of service, which is complicated, messy, difficult? It's not easy to measure. It's not like a production line making cars.
No, I mean, as personally, I've always been interested in how people work together. When I've worked in organisations, it's always been working as teams, getting the most from each other that's interested me. So it was logical to come to an organisation where supporting relationships is actually
it's all
our
about
business.
that.
It's what we do.
How many people do you have working with you?
About 44.
44.
Yeah.
That's a lot of hours, isn't it? And do enough people know about what you give?
I don't think so. I think we don't have the kind of profile and perhaps the reputation with a number of communities in the northeast that we wish to have. I think people may feel that we are not for them because of their cultural or ethnic background, because of their social position, because of where they live. And certainly when we look at who comes to us, we see well over 6,000 people a year.
6,000.
But it's
Wow.
patchy where people come from. It's not an even distribution across the region. So because we start with the person, the couple, the situation, and use the skills and tools we've got, our services are actually open and relevant to everybody because we're not coming in with a whole load of baggage
Right.
and preconceptions about people. So what I would like to say very much is we are here to help with relationships, be it between a couple, be they gay, be they straight, between generations, between parents and children, between parents and grandparents, for young people directly themselves, for older people directly themselves, coping with a range of situations, and also for people improving the quality of their relationship, for example, through their sex life. As human beings, sex is a fundamental part of who
Indeed.
we are,
Indeed.
and we support people to ensure that's a very functioning.
And it's
part
more
of
than
the organisation.
reproduction. For human beings, it's a very large part of their lives,
It's an expression of who we are,
of intimacy.
and of love and of respect. And sometimes that goes wrong. There are ways of supporting that, and Carol will talk more about that. But essentially, we are here to provide a service that's for people, for their relationships. It's highly confidential. It's highly discreet. It's very private, and it's very personal to the person.
And it's irrespective of gender, age, sexuality, culture, religion, country of origin, job, postcode, completely irrelevant to all that.
Absolutely. And our staff are trained to ensure that's the way we deliver the service.
How long does it take to train someone?
Well, it can range between the initial 2 years up to 3, 4, 5, depending on the level of specialisation that a counsellor, which is what we call the people that work for us with people on the
They're called
relationships,
counsellors, yes.
what wants to pursue. It can be a lifetime project of developing skills and expertise. But the other point I'd like to get across is that we very much welcome applications from people who want to become counsellors from a much broader part of the community of the North East than we've had so far. And if anybody listening has got even the slightest interest in this area, please call us, come and see me.
What's the number?
0191 232 9109. Ask for Nick and come and talk about the possibilities of working for
So
us.
232 is the city centre number anyway, so 9109 basically.
It's a Mia house, isn't it?
It's
Yeah,
in
basically
Mia House,
yeah.
which everyone knows is next to City Baths, around that direction, next to the motorway.
And if you want to look at our website and see a lot more
What's it?
detail, simply Google Relate Newcastle.
Relate Newcastle, two separate words.
Relate Newcastle. Just put it in Google, it'll come up, and you'll go onto our website.
Wow, okay.
And can I just add that the relate training is the gold standard within the industry as well.
So it's a very high spec.
It's the highest spec. It is the highest spec nationally.
So you don't have to go and train elsewhere and then go and work for Relate. You go into Relate and train within the job.
Yeah, that's you can do that, but I think Nick can answer. Or Carol. But the other thing is, we've discussed it a few times, just going to stay with Nick for a little while, is you're taking a lot of steps and you're putting a lot of time into developing these services and making them accessible to the minority groups and the communities.
Absolutely. We've been promoting our services around the Northeast. To some extent, we're increasing that now. Talking to a number of people in various community organisations about getting the message across that we're there to help, we're there not to judge, that the service is confidential, and that it is, from what people tell us, highly successful. People go away with, in a sense, having
A fulfilling
if not
experience.
completely resolved everything,
No,
they've got the tools, they've got a direction, they know how they're going to work on their relationship. Or in some cases, they've actually got to the point where they can understand how they can leave a relationship that isn't right, that isn't working.
Or even accept what is.
Absolutely.
So I've done my best, thank you very much. So it is.
So what about the language barriers? How would you overcome those?
Well, we work with a range of interpretation services for many languages, so that as and when language is a complete barrier to us working effectively together, and we can work, with people for whom English is not a first language, and perhaps whose English is sometimes difficult for them. but we also bring in interpreters as and when necessary. And that those interpreters, we don't just bring them in, plonk them down on a chair and say go. We actually work with them for some time, in preparing them for the approach we'll be taking, how we'll be working with people, and ensuring that they are fully conversant and complying with our strict rules on confidentiality, because it is a private process, it's highly confidential, and we keep it that way.
Having worked with a lot of Asians in court and so on, and just supporting my patients, I've seen a lot of interpreters put in their own interpretation, because I do understand Urdu and Punjabi and Hindi, and what the lady has said and what the gentleman is telling the court are completely at variance. The essence is lost. So you are very careful to not just take an interpreter, but somebody who's familiar with counselling and the mores and the values.
That's actually more to do with, I can answer that as well, Nick, because I've worked with interpreters before. That's actually more to do with the professional organisations and their training.
Yes.
So, rather than off the cuff somebody who's coming
But
in.
I'll ask you now, somebody who's good at court or with police is not necessarily a good interpreter for counselling services. They have to understand that this is
there's a balance actually, Doc. I mean, this is my opinion, and we'll pass, but I believe that, all the interpreter should be doing is relaying what the client is saying without any emotion or anything else, adding or taking anything away. So I think an interpreter for court and police would actually be a good person, if we have interpreters out there as well. But they would be, because they're just relaying what they're saying, which they need to do in court.
So the ideal interpreter would work both places comfortably.
Yeah.
Okay. Carol, what's your experience? I mean, you deal with very sensitive issues of sexuality.
Yes.
One of the most private things humans made it private once upon a time. It's not that private these days. But it's still the most intimate thing you can have with another human being.
Yes.
Generally speaking.
Yes.
Now, interpreting would be a very difficult thing, would it not? I mean, you worked with someone from Russia or something.
Yes, I
in
did.
sexual counseling. The culture is different, the language is different, the religion could be different, the temperature is different, the postcode is... How do you succeed?
Well, the way most counsellors, I think, would do it is you have to remember to look at the client, not the interpreter.
Okay.
And, I usually have a chat with the interpreter.
So if I was a
first.
counsellor, you're looking at me and my body
Yes.
language, and while somebody is interpreting on the side.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And it is difficult because, the natural inclination is
to look at the go-between.
Exactly.
What a wonderful
But
thing.
you can usually tell by the response I get back via the interpreter whether my question has been interpreted.
has hit the spot
Yes.
or not. Okay,
Yes.
okay. Because I've when I worked for refugee doctors in the West End, the same thing would happen. The language line would say something, but thankfully that person is not in the room at least.
Yes.
But I'm constantly looking at this lady from Nigeria, wherever, who's
Yes.
speaking Ivory Coast, who's speaking French.
Yeah.
And then after a while, you forget the language, and the body language is what
That's right.
you're
Yes.
communicating. It
Yes.
becomes very genuine.
You're right. Yes.
Okay.
It's a lot of non-verbal.
Yes, or the non-verbals become even more important.
Yes.
I was just going to ask about the service. Is it a free service? Is it a paid-for service? Can you get a referral from your GP?
Yes.
If you're in North Tyneside, you can go through your GP and be referred to us.
What's wrong with South Tyneside?
Well, we have an arrangement with the National Health Service in North Tyneside for them to actually pay for people to come to see us.
They value your service.
They do, yes.
What about Newcastle, Gateshead,
We don't have those
Sunderland?
We don't have those arrangements.
So North Side
there.
is a brand leader, really.
Parts of Northumberland, people can be
Wow.
referred.
Wow, hooray.
And parts of South Tyneside. So
Wow.
it's not a comprehensive coverage through the NHS to access our services, but our services are comprehensive. We provide services in all the boroughs of Tyneside and across Northumberland.
Okay.
There is a charge for the service because we don't get any government funding, we don't get any local government funding. All the costs of providing the service, we have to raise the money for.
How do you raise money, apart from charging clients?
We principally raise it through trying to do work for a range of organisations,
Okay.
who then pay us fees.
So like what, mediation services and things? So
Well, it would be, for example, working with parents who are separating and who've been mandated by the courts
Okay.
to come to us to
Okay,
go
okay,
on a specific program to help them work together effectively for the best interests of the children as the separation process progresses. So there is income from there, but principally our income has to come from
The clients themselves.
The clients themselves. We do set a standard fee of £45 per session.
and that lasts how long?
The session is 50 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
And we do have a concessionary scheme for people in financial difficulties whereby that charge can be reduced.
So if someone is unemployed and he or she is a single parent, it changes.
Yes, if there's a financial circumstance, being on benefits or another financial difficulty, which our assessment shows that the £45 is not manageable, then we have a concessionary scheme people can apply for to get a reduced rate.
So that's excellent, isn't it?
It
doesn't exclude everybody.
It doesn't exclude anyone. Yes.
You know, what is the waiting time to see a counsellor there?
It's around about a couple of weeks at the moment.
Oh,
So if
that's
you rang up
excellent.
today, there's a good chance you'll be seen. If not next week, then by the week after.
That is excellent, isn't it? Because we know the pressure that the NHS and everybody else is under to deliver these services. Yeah.
Carol, if I make the phone call to 2329109, see, I know the number by now.
Yes, very good.
And I want this. In that 2 weeks, my process has begun in my own head, isn't it?
Yes.
As,
Yes.
as a therapist,
Yeah.
they're already starting to look at it and have the courage to look for help.
Yes.
Isn't that the
exactly.
first and the
That's
hardest
the
step?
yes, it is the hardest step.
To
And I
say,
think-
I'm in trouble, please help.
Yes. And then to make the appointment. And when people come for that initial appointment, they often are very nervous.
Yes.
So
What will
you-
they see?
Exactly.
Will it be a man? Will it be a woman?
That's
will I be
right.
judged? Will so-and-so see me parking my car? And all those kind of humor.
yes.
Well, let's go through the process here, Carl, don't we? Hypothetically, I'm a client. I've called up. I'm very nervous. Don't know if it's the right thing for me.
Yeah.
Will it help? Because you know I am in dire straits and nothing else has worked.
Yes.
What's the process? I make the call. I've called you up. Hello.
So you would speak to one of our administrators who are called First Voice, and they would suggest that they could make an appointment for you with a therapist or a counsellor. If they agreed to that, you would come along, and if it was myself, I would introduce myself. I would explain all about confidentiality, data protection, the organisation, ask if they've got any questions about counselling or me, and ask a few, brief questions at that stage.
Yeah.
But basically, I'm looking to hear what the person feels
Is looking
they-
for.
Yes. What they
what's
want
in it
to
for them?
gain from counselling.
So first I make the phone call to Nick or Nikki, or whoever is the person taking my call.
Yes.
And then they make an appointment with someone like yourself.
Yes.
How long do you take making the initial assessment?
50 minutes to an hour.
Okay, and that costs as well?
Yes.
Okay, so they pay that and they say, nah, it's not for me, or I'm not ready for, I know inside I should go for a divorce, but I don't have the courage to.
Yes.
And in counseling, people are often scared that if I go there, I'll do what I really want to do. And they don't have the courage to do it, so they want somebody else to guide them along.
Yes, it's a misconception. Sometimes people come along hoping that the counsellor is going to
Patch it
tell
up.
their partner,
Yes.
that they're wrong. And
Yeah, tell my
this
wife.
person's
No, no, no.
right. Yes, yes.
Okay.
There was
Set her
an
straight.
interesting scenario I could talk about there. Should we what we're discussing? There was a friend of mine, his sister, husband. They were going through troubling times, trying to make sense of things, and they went through one counsellor, and it didn't really work out. They went to another counsellor, and it didn't really work. I mean, this went on for a
It's
year.
quite
Yes,
a bad
yes.
sign, that,
No,
isn't
but,
it?
no, but then eventually, and this is it, you see, because eventually they went to a counsellor. I believe it might have been a relate counsellor. I'm just calling it for the program's sake. They went to a relate counsellor who actually advised them to get divorced.
Yes.
And
Who
helped
actually said
advised
it.
them, I'd actually helped them,
Yeah.
if it is such a word, amicably
Yes.
to come to an arrangement.
It's going to happen, do it peacefully.
Yeah, and of course guided them through that process. So you see, because you do get a lot of the time, it can be one-sided,
Yeah.
where one person, the dependency is more than the other. The other
Yes.
person wants to leave,
Absolutely.
but through guilt and everything else, they won't leave. So
And there's children to consider,
of course,
and
the
friends
children,
and
so,
mothers-in-law.
staying in a relationship for the right reasons and the wrong reasons
yeah.
is that people forget is that it impacts on the whole environment. It impacts on the children, negative relationships, the environment, your well-being, etc. So it takes a very experienced person.
While
you
that
know, I think
person,
like Carol, to
while that couple was counselor hopping, like pub hopping kind
Yeah.
of thing, they're also going through a process and they're gaining courage.
well, it's what you said before. You see, when Carol was saying, when he comes out and he get an assessment. Now the person might say, "This isn't for me."
Yes, yes.
Now I would question, why isn't this for me?
Yes.
Yes.
So the question is, that might have happened with this couple, is, they question, they went so far down. One person didn't want it, the other one didn't. But, the counsellor, I'd have to say, had to be courageous enough to make them face up to
Yeah,
that.
sometimes, I mean, having done counseling myself, sometimes we just carry on, and there's that famous joke. There was a computer that was counseling, and this fellow says, "Oh, life is terrible." The computer says, "Life is not worth living." The fellow says, "I want to jump out of the window." The computer says, "You are suicidal." The fellow jumps out of the window. The computer says, "Thud." You know, there's no there's no engagement.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
like parrot-like reflection, which is true about
good.
new counselors, would you say? In the
Yes.
beginning, it's, "Oh, so you are saying, so you're saying."
Well, yes, you have to be reflective and checking out.
Of the feeling, and
Yes.
not just of the words.
No, not
And I
just
think
the
Amer has
words.
brought it out beautifully that in time
Yes.
they heard what they needed to hear.
Yes.
Oh, of course. So we're here. So we're back to what we're saying. So I've gone through the assessment.
Yeah.
I feel here's a question which from everybody that culturally sometimes it's difficult for a man from certain beliefs and cultures to sit with a woman.
Yeah.
You know, and that is because of their religious beliefs.
Yes.
In a sense.
Or they're scared that this woman will be nicer to
Well,
me
let's
than my
just-
own homegrown wife.
Let's just stick with the
there's a-
religious beliefs for the
Okay,
minute.
there's a phone call. Dear caller, let Amer finish his sentence. I'll put you on.
So,
Caller, you can get back. Okay, caller has gone.
Are you aware of these scenarios as well?
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. And again, I'm always checking out, you know,
Yes.
I don't pretend to know
No,
everything about
no,
their culture. I would always be checking out with them.
But that's true about any service,
It
isn't
is,
it? If I'm
yeah.
a waiter in a restaurant, is it all right? Is the food all
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, if I'm a doctor, I should also.
Yeah.
Is that okay? What I've explained to you.
It
Is there
is-
anything more?
Because we're not going and making judgments about
No,
people.
exactly.
You're Muslim, therefore this is what you think.
No,
You're
no,
Hindu.
no.
You don't believe in God.
No.
This is therefore what
Surely
you
you
think.
should be doing this.
We're
kind of-
asking the person.
Yes.
We're
So it
learning
is
from the
about reaching
person.
out rather than putting them down.
You see, there's a scenario where when I was in training, when I was at university, and when I was working with clients, I worked with a couple of clients of a mutual friend from Freedom for the Alan. He was and I worked with him. One of them was a victim of torture, but what he did, he would put his hand on my leg. Now, in our culture, that's totally acceptable. Men hold hands culturally.
We were talking about this in the
Yes,
cafe.
yes.
Yeah, we spoke the last time. So when we discussed it in a group, everybody in the class turned around and said, "Well, no, I couldn't do that. Why would he touch me?"
Yeah.
Because it was taught that you're not allowed to touch or you're breaking boundaries and everything else. But all right, we're not allowed to touch.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
what happens when they do?
Yes.
Well, again, I would be checking out, is this
What is the
normal?
meaning of this
Yes,
contact?
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
Are you touching me because I remind you of your mother, your wife,
Yes.
your girlfriend?
Yes.
Or
Well,
because,
Yes.
or because you
What
look
are you?
nice?
Yes. What are you imposing on me? It is true, isn't it?
Yes, it
this
is.
transference, counter
And of
transference.
course, therapists, some are possibly a little bit more tactile than
Yeah,
others.
yeah, as people themselves.
we're
And that's
people.
experience, isn't
Yes,
it? Goes
we're
through
individuals,
experience.
yes.
So I'm here. I'm had my assessment. I'm happy to get counselled by yourself, Carol,
Yes.
female. My relationship is falling to bits. I don't really want to be in that relationship, but my partner does.
Well, first of all, I'd be asking, would you like your partner to come along? Have you told your partner that you're here today?
No, that's really difficult.
Is it like a secret thing between
Yes.
us,
Yes.
kind of thing?
Well,
you know?
it's a realisation that, we weren't meant to be. It's not working out. I've gone for too long. And so set in our ways, I've come to you. Culturally, it'll be very difficult because my family won't understand.
No.
But that's why you've gone to her.
And
Yeah.
that's why I've come to yourself.
Yes.
How can you help me? How can I get through of not letting anybody down when I don't want to be in a situation that I'm not happy with?
So I would be checking out exactly what your goals were from coming for therapy. Is it to, end the relationship? What is it about exactly?
The scenario, let's just go hypothetical scenario here, is that, I haven't been happy in this situation, but, is why do I feel guilty for chasing happiness?
Yeah.
Wanting happiness. Why do I feel guilty about this?
Well, I would be asking you, what does happiness mean? Have you tried to work at the relationship? When did it start to go wrong? Because obviously, if you married this person, presumably it was good at one time, and trace it back.
But we have in that scenario, you marry
Yeah.
the person. See, the situations I'm relating to is where you have a lot of arranged marriages.
Yes.
Or my sister had arranged marriages.
Yes.
And I think, some people have realizations. And please listen, I'm not encouraging everybody in arranged marriage to break up. There's always a chance for everything to work. But there is, a minority in there
Yes.
that were forced, even
Yeah.
in a sense, at such a young age.
Yeah.
They had no choice
Yes.
to get away from this to get into this.
Yes. And, I would understand that and try to explore that with yourself. But it might not be that to leave is, the best thing. It might be that some work could be done on the relationship.
To rebuild the relationship,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. And that's it. And that, as you say, with your awareness of, arranged marriages, etc.,
Yes.
there's a lot of things. So there is hope there. So how many sessions would you normally... I mean, sorry, I apologise for that, because how long is a piece of string?
Exactly.
We're not talking... This is, would I be right in saying this is more of a humanistic approach, where the people
Yes.
are the focus, rather than other approaches as CBT or NLP, where there's a quick 6-session response, an end result.
This is more guided by the person
Yeah.
who's being counseled.
Yeah, which can be guided out. So, the listeners can actually go down there. Is there also a part of the service, in a sense, where sort of a guidance service, not even counselling, where people can come down, arrange an appointment, just to have an objective view of where we should go, rather than sessions of counselling?
Not currently. We're a counselling service. We're there to explore with the clients and not to give advice, really.
Yeah.
Just purely humanistic, person-centered counselling.
Well,
it's a variety.
It's the person is the most important thing, and we are not living people's lives for them or giving them an instruction manual on how to live your life. We're there to provide people with the opportunity to reflect, to seek understanding about their feelings, to work out the direction of their life they want to take.
So they have all the resources within them,
and
given
to have
half a
the tools,
chance.
to have the tools to
Yes.
get on and achieve that, where perhaps in
Yes.
the past they weren't able.
Yeah, they were
to.
helpless, and they felt they were helpless. You make them realize how powerful they are.
We're
Yes.
not there to take.
Everybody, I think.
We're not there to take over people's lives and give them instructions.
But especially in the minority community, Amer, you'd agree that we have so much religion and culture. And because that failed, we are going for counseling.
Well, the religion and culture is sometimes the only comfort a lot of people have as well.
Indeed.
So we have to, take that on board
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
But, it's when those worlds collide.
And collapse. And then the person has gone, the fact that they've gone to
dough.
you is because that hasn't
Yes.
supported them enough in
Yeah.
the way they would wish.
Yes.
It's all right for many.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about arranged marriages. My parents had arranged marriages. I had 2 marriages. I arranged myself. Both failed.
Yeah, you enjoy. You're such a fan of arranged marriages. You've had 2.
I've had 2, but arranged by yours truly. Therefore, they fail. Because I'm not trapped enough in my culture and religion. That's why they fail.
Well, in a sense, we do, but I think we, in a sense, tend to be a lot more liberal, don't we? We're more aware of our surroundings, but there's some,
and so are my wives.
say
Very
unfortunate.
I'm very liberal, but unfortunately, my wives were as well.
There's unfortunate times where a lot of people don't have access to this knowledge.
Exactly.
So
And
what we're seeing here is, as a quick review, I said, totally confidential.
Yes.
Totally understanding service.
and
because-
totally unbiased.
And I also have to say this, that, once you're on relationship has no religion, has no
No.
culture, has no boundaries.
As
It's
we
about 2 humans.
as we spoke on Wednesday.
Yeah,
It
it's
was
about
so-
2
so-
humans meeting at this place. And I think that's where the value lies within specialists like Carol, offering this service, and relate to meet people at that place.
Nevertheless, your religion is a very important part of who you are,
Yes.
and it does impact on on the values and approaches to your life that you have. And so, for us, tuning into people's religious circumstances is very important.
Yes.
So we would be listening to a Muslim person, a Muslim couple, a Hindu couple, a Sikh couple, whoever it might be.
Even
for
a Christian,
them to
even a
actually-
Christian one.
Yes.
Christian, and of course non-believers
Yeah,
too.
yes, yes.
Because it's tuning into
What they have.
what's important to the couple, where are they coming from, to get an understanding of that context, so we can actually then work with them on the specific circumstances that led them to pick up the phone and come to us in the first
See, when you
place.
say a Hindu,
Empathically, isn't it?
when you say a Hindu couple, all Hindu couples are different. All Hindus are different.
Absolutely.
All individuals are different.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All times are different. They are in a different culture here. They are not, say, in Delhi, where all the people around them are largely Hindus or Muslims, and they are padded and protected and controlled by it. Here, it's an open ocean, and a lot of people can't cope with that expansiveness. They just don't know how to handle this freedom.
We actually had a really interesting conversation. Sorry, we talked about slightly for that for a few minutes, what we were talking about there.
Yeah.
And Nick mentioned some really valid points, that And Carol mentioned that she was listening to a radio show where the people who come back from, their own countries, from, say, Pakistan, we'll use an example, and they actually come here. And I didn't go to Pakistan for 38 years, so my idea of Pakistan is actually totally different to what Pakistan is.
Had you been born there and lived there and then come?
And they're a lot more liberal there,
yes.
As Carol was saying. So I'm saying,
as against what you've seen here of Pakistan, interpreted by the older guys.
Of course it is, and and I think that, in a sense, stops the integration, because that isn't what Pakistan is like.
No.
Oh.
I have actually seen people in India, Pakistan, say in the Mumbai or Lahore or Karachi, men and women holding hands and walking without a burqa or a hijab. And here on the Westgate Road, you'll see more burqa and hijab than in Pakistan.
Of course. That's, and that's what we were saying, is that restricting integration, in a sense. And,
more here than there.
Integration means assimilation, so it's always at a loss. And, the point I would like to raise here is, again, quoting, integration isn't assimilation.
Assimilation is being eaten up.
Yeah, of course, and that's why Nick was saying their service, encompasses all.
Yes.
Yeah, we're not here to make any preconditions or any qualification or any requirements of anybody coming to us for access to the service. The service is genuinely open and accessible to everybody.
So you don't say drop your religion at the door and then come in.
Because
keep your religion, keep your culture.
We can't say to somebody, sorry, this important part of your life doesn't fit with us, therefore you must
annihilate it. Okay.
It's an important part of your life, it's an important part of your life, and we respect that, and we work with the person with that.
And it's wonderful, isn't it, how I think, so many people aren't aware of a service like Relate.
Such a powerful, useful...
Such a powerful and useful tool that we have there on our doorstep, and we don't utilise enough, So going back to Carol, we're getting along with our sessions. Have I fully recovered?
Can you pay?
Well, you asked about the number of sessions, and you're right. How long is a piece of string?
Yeah.
But on average, I think Relate says between about 8 and 10 sessions.
Okay. So that's very good. Actually, it's not the long term as I thought, really. So
if some people were coming with perhaps sexual difficulties, it may take longer.
Because these are embedded deeper in the human being. It's harder to change, is it?
It's because it's homework is set for sexual problems,
right.
and
so they have to really work on it.
Assessment.
Okay. So they have to work much harder at it.
They do really.
Changing.
Yes.
Is there when certain things arise within the sessions?
Yeah.
Do you also signpost to other agencies as well?
We have done. For instance, if someone was to come, or a couple was to come, where one or both were addicted to alcohol, say, we would be saying, I really think you need to get
that out of the way. Then
sorted.
you work on yourself.
Yes,
but wouldn't they be saying it's your fault and he be saying no, it's your fault?
Yes. Yeah. Well, Buddha said when you point a finger at someone, 3 point back at you.
So people can get signposted there as well through anything beyond that,
What about people who might be very angry with their partner or actually be battering them?
Well, yes.
What do you do with that? They've actually told you, I actually batter my wife, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Usually the other way.
Which you don't, by the way, can I stress?
No, I haven't got a wife to batter.
Exactly. Well, you never did you?
No, never.
We would certainly...
So what's your moral responsibility is what I'm saying.
Yes, it is. And we would see, if it was a couple, we would see them separately and ask very specific questions just to assess the risk and what was happening.
No, what I'm saying is, would you see something that they don't see? It's a blind area. They think, sort of, it's okay. They're kind of doing it, and you're saying, excuse me, you can't carry on
That's not acceptable.
Yes.
And again, it's checking out, because in different cultures, people do have different ideas about what is acceptable.
Indeed. But we do live in Britain,
Yes, exactly.
But
I like reminding many of my customers that we live here.
There's certain legal requirements which we discussed going back to training, etc., which have to be a part of the agreement, and those are, anything related to child protection issues.
Yes, those kind of things.
You have to notify.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
And also the new addition a few years ago, not that long ago, was the Terrorism Act.
Okay.
So if anybody is practicing that, and the other one is a Criminal Act. Now, that's loosely based. If you said, you stole a packet of biscuits from any famous shopping mall, because I saw it in your pocket. I wouldn't really condemn you for that. It's a judgment call on that. But if somebody is about to commit a major crime, they have to be aware of that they can't really come there and discuss it
and tell you and get rid of the guilt and then go ahead and do it.
you can do that in certain religions, but not with a counsellor.
No. Safety first.
Safety first,
Yes.
etc.
So all this. Okay, so it's something very safe. It's something non-judgmental. It's something not that expensive for life-changing events.
Confidential.
It's very, very confidential. Things that you may not want to tell in your own community, whether it's a Jewish community or Islamic community or Hindu community.
Yeah.
And you don't go to the Hindu temple and say, by the way, I feel like running away from my wife.
And you're a Muslim. And you're a Muslim.
And but if you're a Muslim, you should say that in the Hindu temple. But then you go to Carol and talk about it
Yeah.
because it doesn't go elsewhere. It stays within the four walls.
And that's what we need to do, don't we? We need to communicate at times rather than keeping
How much
it in.
note taking do you do?
I personally don't do a lot of note taking in the
Congratulations,
session.
because you're my kind of man. Because putting it down threatens the person.
Yes.
They feel, oh, the staff will read it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had this
Yes.
as a young GP. I used to write a little bit more than I do now. I do nothing now, but because it is a very personal communication between
It
thee
is.
and me. It's not any old customer, any old doctor. It's private and between these two.
I
Exactly.
actually showed them when I would show the notes to.
Yes.
I set up a couple of services at a homeless hostel in another place, and I would actually show them.
So would write it with them.
No, I would show them what I'd written down,
Yes.
or I would say, "This is what I'm writing down."
That's how
Because,
transparent
it's-
you
Of course it is, because you come from a background where trust is a major thing, and
Yes.
trust has been
Yeah.
betrayed so many times
Yeah.
in those scenarios
Yes.
that you need to build the trust.
No, I
I'm not
love-
writing anything wrong about you.
Yes.
Any notes taken off, just simply for the counsellor to as if you like, as a memo,
Like a bullet point.
so they can simply just helps them remember for the next time.
that this yes.
and keeps them clear on what's being said. It's not there to report to anybody. It's not fed back to anybody. It's kept as just a personal record for the counsellor with the clients.
I ask this because a lot of my patients said in a small practice where I only see one doctor, less is written down and I tell more. But if you're in a practice with 10 doctors and they have to write everything down,
Yes.
how can you see the next doctor, even for a cough or a cold, and just take a normal cough,
Yeah.
bronchitis. The next doctor will start all over again, try to understand the values of
Yeah.
this person, whether taking echinacea or antibiotics or
Yeah.
Benylin or this one or that one. Even there, where it's nothing that emotional, still the rapport is so important.
Yes.
So how much more important it is for you? That's why I asked you this.
Exactly. And I think the only time I would take any notes is at the initial assessment. And I would be saying to them, I'm just going to write
Jot
a few
some.
notes. Is that okay?
And the rest stays in my mind, heart,
Yeah.
spirit.
Yeah.
What if you meet someone and they're seeing you for counseling and they haven't told their wives? Would you accept that?
Yes.
Okay. But you meet them socially somewhere and you say, hey, how's it going? How do you not?
No, I
Socially.
something like that happened to me at the theatre last week.
What did you do?
I did nothing, and the client approached me
Okay. Okay.
and asked how I was doing.
Okay.
You have to, that's strange because it's still, I know Carol's trained for so many years, but now we have these conversations over the last, with
Yes.
other therapists in training. And I got to the point where I would say to people, if I bump into you in the street, would you like me to acknowledge you or not? Rather than say, I won't acknowledge you because
Yes.
that's the federation. So would you like me to talk
I'm
to
saying,
you?
hello, Amer, and you're trying to look at the stars or something.
No, well, that's
then
it,
the people
isn't
think, they put other interpretations.
And it
What's
does,
the
isn't it?
matter?
It's a sharing of real personal, deep emotional things here. And we can, outside of the therapy room at times, feel uncomfortable because it is a very comfortable place to be. You're in a safe place,
Yes.
to talk, to open up and know that you're in a safe place. But
Yes.
then once you move out of that,
Yes.
I suppose it's a bit like getting drunk and talking too much. But
I
then
wouldn't know
afterwards
anything about
regretting.
it. I wouldn't know anything
I
about
read it in a book,
that.
though.
And similarly, if I saw a client and, I'd done a lot of counselling with them in the past and it was very painful for them, I would totally understand if they didn't want to come over and say hello.
Yeah. You
of
wouldn't be
course.
shattered.
No,
I think.
And that's the point.
So much for you, and you don't even recognize me.
I did have a client who used to, I regularly saw them in town, and I still do, and he would see me and go the opposite way. Okay, and I had to understand, and then eventually I had to pull him to one side. I said, look, you don't have to change the direction you're walking in. I will not
Just because
acknowledge
see
you.
me.
What we talk about is confidential.
I don't expect you to.
Yeah, of course,
No.
but he would literally spend weeks or months just turning the other way and going, and I would see him doing it. I say, you don't have to do that.
It's up
trust.
to the client,
Yeah,
really.
it is. And you ask, they'll ask initially.
Well, general practice is different. I went to ASDA about 6 months ago. I go often, but this lady comes. Anand, how are you? I said, how's your piles doing? And we all had a big laugh, you know. She doesn't have piles, not that I
Well,
know.
I don't think you're actually going to go up and say, you know, when you bump into a couple and say, is this your terrible husband? It would really defeat the object, wouldn't it, really? Doc?
So all we're emphasizing is it's very, very private.
It's amazing.
And you
Yeah,
decide how
that
private
is-
you want to leave it. If you want to
Yeah.
acknowledge me as a counselor and say hello to me, that's fine.
Yeah.
You haven't met my wife. This is my wife. Thank you. And she'll say, and she should be able to say, thank you very much. You helped my husband at that time. Now that's a perfect relationship between the three of you. But if it's that kind of relationship where they're avoiding you
Yeah.
because they haven't paid or something, is it?
No. This was actually free service. I sent
All
free
right.
service for
Okay.
in one of the charities.
Okay. How would it be if I invited you on behalf of the Pakistani Cultural Society to come and talk for 10 minutes?
Absolutely delighted.
Okay, I'll see if next Thursday nights they meet, 8ish. I'll speak to Sanam. I mean, this is the way to get you in.
Yeah.
I can speak to Gurdwara as well. Because though they contain a lot, they know a lot of the younger generation. Just don't look up to them as the big Gyani or the big fountain of all knowledge. And they're a bit more forward. So the Gurdwara and them I can talk to. Because a lot of people don't go to their religious leaders, the younger generation, for that reason.
Yes.
And they would be happy
And it
to come
is,
to
you
you.
know, it's like you're saying, it's a really, you know, terrifying. Yeah, I'll use the word terrifying position because, you know, I've been approached by friends who wanted me to work with their kids, and in a sense, when I explain the service, they actually see it as how your father is, and tell you the right way to go. And I had to explain the service isn't like that.
No.
In a sense, that isn't the service I offer, or even in real hours, it's there for the person.
I mean, the community that you and I come from, everyone's giving advice to everyone.
Yeah.
What you should do. I mean, my own sister, 2 years younger to me, can you believe that? Gives me advice on medicine, you know.
No, it's actually, we forget to listen, don't we? We become so knowledgeable in certain subjects that we forget to listen.
We are master of everything.
Well, you are, Doc, but you know,
I'm saying the subcontinent we come from, there's a huge tendency to give advice because I again feel it's because of lack of intimacy. You're not prepared to listen because listening is intimacy.
I think the service we provide is fundamentally about enabling people to talk, someone to listen, and for someone then to provide a set of tools and resources for the person to work on and work with for their life. So we're not there giving instruction. We're also not ignoring people.
Tell me about the training then. Say I'm a 20-year-old Indian doctor, not doctor, I'm a computer chap, and I want to get into this. I really love it. What will it cost me in terms of time and money to learn, to be a good counselor at Relates?
Well, assuming you've done nothing before, you do two to 3 years of training.
How many hours? Morning, afternoon, evening? What?
Well, that depends on your availability. You need to do between 100 and 200 hours of counselling before you finally qualify.
It's a bit like flying, isn't it?
It is actually, yes.
Flying
yes.
hours.
Yes, you might be able to do your first solo flight, as it were, after about 50 hours, 50, 60 hours. You might begin to start to see people, but you'd actually be supported with your instructor, as your flying instructor,
Yes.
would still be with you.
We're also making sure
supporting
that you're safe to fly and you're
That's
not
right.
threatened by itself.
That's
yeah, of
right.
course, yeah.
And depending on which course you go on and which kind and level of counselling you want to do, the cost would be in the order of £2,000 to £3,000
Per year?
for the course.
For 3 years?
Well, it depends how long you take to do it.
It's not that costly, really, for a whole new career. It's nothing.
But I think everything, would I be right in saying, well, I've sold that myself, everything is on the website. Every
Yes.
course that's available
is.
that Relate to is on their website.
Okay, and the website is
The website is just simply Google
Newcastle.
Relate Newcastle, follow the link, or call us on 232
9109.
Come in and have a discussion, and we can go into the detail.
I just wanted to go back to, because this is how we originally met, about your, you know, even, can I use the word passion, to develop services within the community, how passionate you are. Could you tell us what your, you know, future plans are and what you would like to see?
We'd like to talk to people, as many people as possible, about what we do and how we can ensure it is as relevant, as friendly, as welcoming, and as valuable to people who currently aren't receiving the service as it is to those who already get the service, wherever they're from. So we've been talking with imams in the area, we've talked to a number of community organisations in the area, we've talked to individuals who are active in the area. about getting the message across, and also for us to sit and listen. We're not here simply to say, this is it, take it or leave it. We're here to say, this is what we can offer. This is the benefit a lot of people, thousands of people a year get from this. We feel that other people haven't got the opportunity of getting that benefit. Let's sit down and talk about why that isn't, how we can make it more accessible and make it appropriate. So, for example, if you're in somebody may be listening now thinking, well, I don't want to come in and see a woman. I don't want to sit in the same room as a woman and talk. We'll adapt. We'll
adjust to that.
We'll find another way of working around that. I don't want to disclose certain things. My value base or my background, it means I can't do this or the other. We will work with that. We're not here to say, here it is, take it or leave it. But what we want to do is to hear from people, and let's talk and let's get it right for you.
Well, other thing,
Totally adaptable service.
yes, I mean, I know some imams too. I know the ones who are much more open-hearted and young and born in UK and born in NE4. And they are much more open than somebody who comes from abroad who doesn't know what counselling is.
Well, they're aware of their environment, aren't they? They're empathising with what's going on
Yes.
rather than being
And they're aware of the
restrictive
difficulties
or
in this.
dogmatic about their beliefs,
Yes,
and
yes.
this is the beginning and end of it all.
Yes.
Well,
And
we're there to support the imams because a lot of people.
They are the counsellors.
A lot of people, Muslim people, will perhaps go to the
To the
imam,
imam.
In the first instance and see the imam as a guide, as a leader,
Yes.
as someone who
Someone
can
to look up to.
who can support them and help them in the situation. And imams do. They have
So
that
would you-
role.
would
And
you
we can
do-
support the imam, if you like, as people need more and want more intensive kind of help.
So
and
would
support.
you train imams for shorter courses to
Yes,
have the
we-
essentials of counselling?
Yes, we can, and indeed we've been having this conversation with imams locally, which is
Wow.
about providing some training for them, what we call it, counselling skills for non-counsellors. In other words, some essential counselling approaches and styles that they can use in their pastoral work
To be
with their
more
communities.
successful and more effective.
To help them respond to what they're
I think that's a
their
wonderful
people are
idea.
saying.
It is.
And also that this is happening now, that they are also making the people they're supporting aware of our services, where more systematic and intensive help and support would be appropriate.
Well, two of us have been talking a lot about bringing counselling to the community, to the
Yeah, of
diaspora of
course.
Indians, Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, who, because they're in a new culture, and the parents are now super successful with cash, but they're not successful with their children, also because they're completely two separate cultures.
Well, I think that my personal experience, I'm trying to promote my own service. Sorry, I know we're here, as a counsellor myself, but I think the thing lies that sometimes if you're a counsellor within the community in that area, it's difficult.
Because you're
Of
seeing
course,
all the
so
time.
you're part of it. So, a person to share something that's always in the back of your mind, that, the confidentiality could be broken or whatever if you have these. But I believe, a relate stance, it's slightly out of the area.
Physically, postcode-wise.
Physically, postcode-wise, everything else as well. So, there's no attachment to the area and, or the people.
Recognizability
there's no
and
danger of anybody
neighborliness, yes,
overhearing
yes.
anything, because of that confidentiality there. So I think, in a sense, being an Asian counsellor at times can have its pitfalls
Definitely.
in that sense. But I
Definitely.
could go to a different town and work there.
North Shields.
Sorry?
North Shields.
Is that a town?
No, North Shields is the area where they're supported by the government, by the PCT.
Oh, okay. All right.
So there's a career tip for you.
Oh, thank you very much, Dan. Okay, on that note, I'm off.
We do have very tight selection criteria, We have,
Apologise in advance.
we have got standards to maintain,
That's why I apologise in advance. Yeah.
No, but he has been. I mean, from day one that we met here, we've been talking about counseling, we've been talking about relationships, we've been talking about promoting it in the community, in the Asian diaspora. We really have. And today is a very special day because not only one, but both of you are there.
No, we have been very lucky.
Yeah.
Very lucky. And I think, the listeners, the community, everybody needs to understand how lucky we have and the valuable service that's on our doorstep.
On our
What we
doorstep.
what we need to utilise. Totally objective.
2329109 is number 2.
You remember that? I
Yeah.
have a feeling you're going to ring that when the show finishes. But I don't know. Sorry, I might be,
When are they going like? So yeah, it's wonderful, and we'll also replay this show again sometime. I'm capturing it there and capturing in the studio, and I'll do this again because we want to promote relates particularly in the Asian diaspora.
Do you know, in a sense, we want to promote relationship. We want to promote integration. We are human. And, the biggest thing is, like I said, get on with everybody. There is options there to make us, help us along our
And
journey.
enjoy life.
Yeah, of course.
as it stands, with all
Of
the
course.
rain and all the traffic wardens.
don't have to.
Enjoy it. It is like
I
that.
heard Paris is beautiful in the rain. So, there's always something nice forever. So.
You'll be singing in the rain soon.
Just back to your point very quickly about the family. We do a lot of work with families,
So you work
parents,
with family?
parents and children,
Wow.
and the relationships. Because in any culture, any background, any circumstances, it's an area that is a difficult area. Your kids are growing up; they're always different to you. Generations
Anywhere.
are different anywhere in any circumstances. We do a lot of work with families on that and provide a lot of support for
Okay.
that. And also we tune it directly in with young people and understand them and provide support directly to them. Because growing up is not easy.
No.
Anywhere. In your own culture is difficult enough,
Anywhere.
and if you're
And it
new,
is, and that's-
new in the country,
Yeah, of
and your
course it is.
parents from back
Of course it
home
is.
who know everything about everything, and you know everything about everything.
Well, you see, in a sense, it's an understanding of counselling, isn't it? I mean, the families that I've been approached by in the past because of their children are going somewhere, they're actually looking for advice. And when I don't really offer advice
Yes.
beyond a referral or etc., or then they don't seem to understand it.
I think a lot of the work, as you will know, Amer, is about increasing communication skills. The number of couples that come along and one will say something and they'll look amazed and they'll say, I never knew you thought that.
Yeah.
But they've never said it
Yes, yes.
at home.
It's the thing of, it reminds me of a story how in some, even now to this day, in some villages, they, how often the stick is used. And I mean this in a sense is how limited, our knowledge can be and where we stay. I mean, they have scenarios where they say people get possessed by ghosts culturally. They still use a practice where they will tie a person to a tree and beat them with a stick to get the ghost out.
I'd rather not be beaten. Never mind.
Possession. Of a possession.
Yeah, yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah.
So, and this is today.
What
this
you
is
believe
happening
to be
now.
true is true. Simply.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
In a sense. So, everybody. I think, the message of the day is let's work together, for the well-being of ourselves and our children and our future.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
what we need to do.
That's the reason why you brought these wonderful people, and there's a fire engine
I'm so
coming to
happy
the
that they
studio.
came along.
And as a
Although it took Nick
counsellor-
10 years or something to finally acknowledge that.
As a counsellor, I've been doing this 25 years now.
Wow.
And I still feel privileged,
Yes.
that people entrust, this
Yes.
very personal
Deep
part.
personal
Yes.
thing.
It's amazing, isn't it? Nick, you must be so proud of being the chief executive of such a worthwhile and worthy organisation.
I think the satisfaction that I get from seeing the work we do, from the feedback of the 5, 6, 7,000 people a year we see is fantastic. I'd like to see more. I'd be very happy to come out and talk to anybody, an individual, a group, a gathering, a meeting, or whatever, and actually strengthen the connection between us and a range of communities in the region, so that we can actually ensure we're providing a service that's relevant and supportive to those people in the communities that actually want our kind of help.
That is such a profound statement. I have nothing more to say.
What more can we say? All we can say.
Don't.
All we can say is yes and thank you.
Yes, and thank you very much. Namaste. Adab. Sat Sri Akal.
Thank you.
What we've always done is to connect with people as they are. We don't judge people. We don't, if you like, bring our own values and
Don't give them shoulds,
priority.
musts, and all that.
No,
Nothing.
we're there to support people to work out for themselves what they want from their lives, from their relationships. And so my role is to oversee the functioning of the organisation to make sure that we're actually tuning into everybody in our area, across Northumberland and Tyneside, whatever their background, whatever their social position, wherever they live, so that our services are always responding to what people want from us. We're not preaching to people, we're not telling people what they need, but we're providing them with all the resources and support to get things right for themselves.
Because you truly believe that every human can find his own or her own place if given the right resources and the space.
Absolutely, we all have very strong aspirations. Life is complicated, life isn't easy. Humans are we're a very emotional.
काउंसलिंग इस देश में कैसे मिलता है अभी आपको बताते हैं. So I now welcome in the studio Amer, a very good afternoon to you, Amer.
Good afternoon, Doc. How are you?
Would you introduce the guests because you know them
Yes,
far
please.
better than I
Thank
do?
you. Yes, I would.
please do.
I think I would like to say we're very lucky and fortunate to have Chief Executive of Relate for Newcastle. And am I right, Carol, the manager, service manager there? Would that
Yes.
be?
No, I'm a counsellor and therapist. there.
A counsellor therapist.
And you've been here before.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
So you know this show is all fun and laughter.
I do.
And we have a very experienced therapist and counsellor who,
Yes.
I mean, through our chats,
Uh-huh.
I've realised how understanding Carol is
And the depth of understanding.
culturally.
Yes.
You know, it's amazing. It's amazing. So yeah, we're very privileged to have
So Carol has been here before. Carol, you're a therapist of much range, but sex therapy is one of the strengths of your
Yes.
and
Working as teams, getting the most from each other that's interested me. So it was logical to come to an organisation where supporting relationships is actually
it's all
our
about
business.
that.
It's what we do.
How many people do you have working with you?
About 44.
44. That's a lot of hours, isn't it? And do enough people know about what you give?
I don't think so. I think we don't have the kind of profile and perhaps the reputation with a number of communities in the northeast that we wish to have. I think people may feel that we are not for them because of their cultural or ethnic background, because of their social position, because of where they live. And certainly when we look at who comes to us, we see well over 6,000 people a year.
6,000.
But it's
Wow.
patchy where people come from. It's not an even distribution across the region. So because we start with the...
We really enjoyed your show last time.
Thank you.
And we had a show on Wednesday with Joel and yourself, and we were talking about relationship supersedes everything.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about our... What do you get? Do you want to put the headphones on?
Yeah, you'll probably hear yourself. Yeah, just a little bit about yourself at the service,
Yeah.
and what you would like to develop there, what you would like to do, how you would see the service going.
And what attracted you to run this service?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. It's great to be on Spice FM. I've listened to it many times and always wanted to be on. So it's great to be
Your
here
dreams
on
are
this,
fulfilled today, sir.
to be here on this typical November morning in Newcastle. My name is Nick Price. Yes, as you said, I'm the Chief Executive of Relate for Northumberland and Tyneside. We're an organisation that specialises in supporting people with their relationships. Relationships, as you said, are fundamental to all of our lives, whether we've got good relationships, not very good relationships, or haven't got the relationships that we want. What we pride ourselves on, and we're beings, and often that's illogical or irrational, if you like. But it's what makes us human, and our job there is to support people when those very exciting and extremely happy events of having relationships to perhaps turn the other way or become stale or whatever.
So when people get stuck in pain, that they feel as pain, only they know best.
absolutely
Only they can diagnose the illness, shall we say. You don't need an outside telling them you should, you must. They have to want to come to you and they have to believe in you.
It's a humanistic
As a-
approach. isn't
yes.
it?
We all know that we feel pain, but often we don't know what we can do about it.
Yes.
Or we think it's all our fault and there's no hope. Or it's the other person's fault and I'm absolutely fine. And life isn't like that. Things are more
What attracted you
complicated.
to run this sort of service, which is complicated, messy, difficult? It's not easy to measure. It's not like a production line making cars.
No, I mean, personally, I've always been interested in how people work together. When I've worked in organisations, it's always been